You know, in the world of high-stakes geopolitics, the moves that really, truly matter, they're almost never the ones you see. They happen in the shadows, far, far away from the headlines. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most influential and most secretive figures in the modern world.
Think about it. Real power, the kind that actually shapes the destinies of nations, doesn't need a flashy entrance. It operates quietly, behind the scenes. It's a subtle pressure applied at just the right moment, and you often only feel its presence when the effects are already undeniable.
It's a patient game. It's all about strategy and observation. A world where silence is a weapon, and waiting? Well, waiting is an art form. Every single move is calculated, every piece positioned, all of it building toward one single decisive action.
And that's the punchline, isn't it? This silent, patient power, when it's finally unleashed, can completely alter the course of events. It can redraw maps and redefine the future for millions of people, sometimes in just an instant.
For India, the man at the absolute center of this world of shadows is Ajit Doval. For decades now, he's been the architect of the nation's most critical, most controversial, and frankly, most courageous security operations.
So how does someone even become a master of this hidden world? I mean, where do you start? To understand the man, you've got to go right back to the beginning. A journey that started not in some stuffy office in a big city, but in the rugged mountains of northern India.
Born in Gardwal, the son of an army officer, you can just imagine the kind of discipline that was part of his life from day one. He went to a Ajmer military school where values like loyalty and endurance weren't just words in a book, they were a daily practice. You take that tough upbringing and you combine it with a razor-sharp mind, he got a master's in economics, and you get this unique personality, quiet, strategic, and completely fearless.
So he starts out his career in the police service, but it becomes very clear very quickly that his particular set of skills are meant for something else. The intelligence community noticed him, and he was recruited into the intelligence bureau. And just like that, his public life was basically over, and a career spanning decades in the shadows had officially begun.
Now, let's be very clear. Doval wasn't some analyst stuck behind a desk. No way. He was a deep-cover field operative, a real-life spy, who took on some of the most dangerous missions you can possibly imagine. This is where the man became a legend.
Just let that sink in for a second. 7 years. For 7 straight years, Ajit Doval lived deep inside hostile territory. A ghost, gathering intelligence that would become absolutely vital to India's security. A place where one single mistake, one slip-up, meant he would never be heard from again.
The level of risk he was taking was just off the charts. He posed as a laborer, a traitor. He just blended in so completely, he became invisible. He had no gun, he had no backup, and he definitely had no diplomatic immunity. If his cover was ever blown, he would just vanish. It was the ultimate test of nerve.
This quote, this right here tells you everything you need to know about how he operates. Doval knew that real victory isn't just about winning a gunfight. It's about psychological dominance. He used this brilliantly in conflict zones like Kashmir, where he'd infiltrate militant groups and actually turn their own members, dismantling entire networks from the inside out.
Okay, if you want a perfect example of his legendary nerve, look no further than this. During the Kandahar hijacking, a plane full of hostages. Total chaos. Doval was the negotiator they sent in, and he just walked, unarmed, into a terrorist-controlled airport. An act of unbelievable courage that put him literally face-to-face with the enemy.
All right, so flash forward to 2014. Doval is appointed India's National Security Advisor. This was a massive turning point. He's pulled out of the field and put right at the top in the strategy room. And this is where his decades of high-risk, on-the-ground experience started to get translated into national policy, fundamentally changing how India saw its own security.
He brought this new philosophy with him, and it came to be known as the Doval doctrine. It all centers on this idea of offensive defense. And the concept is actually pretty simple, but the implications are revolutionary. Basically, instead of waiting for an attack and then trying to react, you proactively go to the source of the threat and you neutralize it before it can ever strike.
I mean, this was a complete 180. For decades, India's policy had been, for the most part, reactive. Absorb the first punch, then figure out how to respond. Under Doval, the doctrine became proactive. The new thinking wasn't just about defending your own borders, it was about hunting threats across those borders. It was a high-risk, high-reward strategy, and it sent a message to the world that the old rules were over.
And look, this wasn't just some theory written down in a memo somewhere.
Oh no, it got put into practice very, very quickly, sending a clear and unmistakable message to India's adversaries. The Balakot airstrike is probably the textbook example. After a horrific terror attack in Pulwama, Doval was the chief architect of the response. But this time, instead of some small skirmish on the border, Indian jets flew deep inside mainland Pakistan to hit their targets. The message couldn't have been clearer. Your sovereignty will no longer protect you if you threaten India. The doctrine of offensive defense was now a battlefield reality.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, what's the ultimate legacy of this man who has spent his entire life serving, always away from the public eye? It's about so much more than just a few operations. It's about fundamentally rewiring an entire nation's strategic DNA.
He didn't just introduce a new policy, he completely transformed India's security architecture. To this day, he personally leads the tense, incredibly high-stakes border talks with China, bringing that unique mix of steel and strategy to the negotiating table. And maybe, just maybe, his most important legacy is that he's mentored a whole new generation of security leaders, making sure his vision of a stronger, more proactive India will live on.
You know, through this entire incredible journey, from being an undercover spy to the nation's top strategist, his motivation has always been the same. It was never about getting applause or seeing his name in the papers. His entire career can be defined by one thing: a singular, silent dedication to service.
In the end, Ajit Doval is that invisible sentinel. He's the strategist in the shadows whose entire life's work is to ensure the safety of over 1 billion people. He is the silent guardian, and his true impact isn't measured by what you see, but by the crises that are averted and the attacks that never happen.